Good morning, students. Today I will discuss on the role of music in Twelfth Night. Now, so far as Twelfth Night is concerned, we find that Twelfth Night is generally being considered as an example of festive comedy. Do you know what is festive comedy? Already I have mentioned it about it in the previous lectures. You will find that somehow the title of Twelfth Night is set on the particular night of the performance of this particular play. It was a 12th night after 25th of December, as I mentioned earlier. So fundamentally, you will find that this particular comedy, that is 12th Night by Shakespeare, it was made to be performed during the Epiphanic festival at the 12th night after the 25th of December, that is 6th of January. So generally, as this particular play is to be considered as a wonderful specimen of a festive comedy, because we have already discussed about the theories of festivity, and so far as these theories can be classified or these theories can be associated or can be related with this particular text, we can find that one of the chief ingredients of this particular comedy is to be considered the mirth and jollity that is always being present within this particular play. In my lecture concerning the title and the alternative title of this particular text, we have already discussed about the fundamental basics of the theory of festivity and how these particular patterns can be related with Twelfth Night, obviously. So now what I'm trying to suggest here, that so far as this particular text was made to be performed during the Epiphanic festival, or this particular text has to be performed with a festive impact within. That means the mirth and jollity and music and merriment is always being present within this play. So generally we can find that this particular play, that is Twelfth Night, must have to be somehow in some places different from other Shakespearean comedies that come to forefront. So fundamentally we can find that in this play, as I've already mentioned, that the play begins with a reference to music. And what is that? You will find that I'm reading from the first section. It is Duke Orsino who is, for the first time, he is mentioning, if music be the food of love, play on. Give me the excess of it. That surfeiting, the appetite may sicken and so die. That strain again, it had a dying fall. Oh, it came over my ear like the sweet sound. And then he continues, that breathes upon the bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. It is not so sweet now as it is before. So fundamentally, we'll find that the play actually begins with a reference to music. Why? Because with the accompaniment of music, for the first time, you will find Twelfth Night was performed. Okay, so generally, you can find that throughout the play, there will be ample provisions of music, there will be ample provisions of musicality, you see. Okay. In this particular lecture, I will discuss about, I'm not going with the fundamental associations of music in Shakespearean plays in general, Shakespearean comedies in general, but ultimately I will concentrate on the three particular songs that have been made to be present in this particular play. The songs that were performed by Feste in different parts of this particular text. Say for example, now the question is, as I already mentioned, that so far as the characters of this play is concerned, okay, I have already mentioned in my previous lectures that so far as the characters of this particular play is concerned, we will find that there are ample provisions of characters who are to some extent, they are coming from different strata of the society. I have mentioned about the Lady Olivia or Duke Orsino's household. I have mentioned about the strata that they were belonging to. And also there is a particular character, that is Feste, who is coming from the lower strata of society. And somehow in Feste's temperament, in Feste's outlook, we can find that there are ample provisions of the intermingling of two different cultures. One, that is the culture of the high status, that is, we can find that the upper strata of society is in work, and the second section is obviously being related with the lower section of the society. Now, as I've already mentioned, that Feste is somehow Shakespeare's mouthpiece here. So ultimately in Feste's words and Feste's remarks, we can find that Shakespeare is actually commenting on the situations and commenting on the societal basics, you see, whether it is politics, whether it is religion, whether it is hypocrisy, always you can find that the deception is always being present within these personalities. So that's why the songs that are being chosen by Feste, these are very intricate and very pleasing, you see. Why I'm trying to suggest here? Because you will find that Feste, as I've already mentioned, that he is, to some extent, he can understand the situation well. So somehow he brings the lines, he brings the wordings, essentially, that have been taken into consideration. Here, the lines are actually propagating some different kind of ideologies, some different kinds of temperament of the people who are the listeners here, you see, okay, or the audience here. The first song, the three songs I have already mentioned. The first song that was performed by Feste, it was in Act 2, Scene 3, and line number 40 onwards, okay. So this is a song, you will find it's named as the famous song, you know, and you will find that it's a very renowned song in Trevor Nunn's production of Twelfth Night. Why? Because the particular film that was filmed on or structured on Twelfth Night by Trevor Nunn, you will find that this particular song was used at the beginning, just before the shipwreck happens, you see, the shipwreck of Sebastian, and obviously it was Viola. So what was the song? It says, I'm reading the song, "O mistress mine, where are you roaming? Oh stay and hear, your true love is coming." So ultimately it was a particular kind of a situation. You will find that it was the night when Sir Toby and Andrew and Clown and Maria, they were engaged in mirth and merrymaking. I have already discussed about them. I have already mentioned them in my previous lectures, that they were the personalities with whom you can attach enough formations of wine, enough formations of mirth and jollity being present, because they are actually carrying the basic temperament of festivity that are always present within the spectators who are being present there. So fundamentally you can find that they were engaged in mirth and jollity against the basic temperament of Malvolio, obviously, because Malvolio will come just after this particular song, and then the particular kind of a clash, you see, the problem will occur between these characters. The clown sings. So that is the situation. You see that there is a kind of a subterranean flow of emotional exuberance within the characters of Sir Toby and Maria. There is a kind of a relationship that was at the sprout, at the early sprout here. So ultimately, towards the end of the play, we will find that Toby will marry, or he will be married to Maria, obviously. So somehow here you will find, and also, okay, there is an Andrew Ogchik, okay? Andrew Ogchik is always thoughtful about the possibility of marriage between Olivia and her, Olivia and Sir Andrew. So it is not possible for him not to dote upon Olivia, not to think upon Olivia. So here you can find the temperament is actually being, that is the basic temper of this particular song, is actually relating all the characters being present here, that I am trying to suggest here. And that's why Clown begins, that is the Feste begins, "O mistress mine, where are you roaming? Oh stay and hear, your true love is coming." So who is the true love here? Do you not find that this is actually resonating, or to some extent it is the typical form of resonance within the characters somehow? If you think of Duke Orsino, and you will find that the urge and the passion typically present in Duke Orsino for Lady Olivia, this particular song can also attach him, but you will find eventually Duke Orsino is not present in this particular case. But there is Sir Andrew, and Andrew have the feeling for Olivia, and there is Sir Toby and Maria, so you can find the same kind of emotional exuberance is being present secretly within them. So that's why Clown Sings identifies this particular song to be present. "Oh mistress mine, where are you roaming? Oh stay and hear, your true love is coming." So who is the concept of true love, or who is the true love here? In each and every personality you will find that the true love, this particular concept is obviously gets blurred each and every time. Oh, mistress mine, where are you roaming? Oh, stay and hear, your true love is coming. That can sing both high and low. Can you find that here the true love can also be related with clown, with feste? Why? Because he can sing both high and low. So fundamentally, that is the line, as I mentioned here, that somehow if you go through the songs of feste, you will find that Shakespeare is using double meanings or double layers of significations here, you see. What does it mean? That can sing both high and low. So ultimately we'll find that as this particular song is related to the formations of songs and the structures of songs and so, you will find this high and low, literally it signifies higher octave and lower octave. That is the high pitch and low pitch of the songs. But literally, you will find that it is actually signifying the different strata of the society, the ups and downs of life leading, obviously. High, it is referring to the high section of the society. Low, it is referring to the low section of the society, that is the lower section of the society. So fundamentally, you will find that these are actually referring to the status of the personalities, and obviously the different kinds of strata being present within this society and societal structure. So that's why high and low, literally though it is signifying the patterns of song, the patterns of music, but at the same time you will find it is actually referring to the different strata of the society, different perspectives of the society, and different connotations have to be related with the societal perspectives anymore. So it can be related with the money, okay? And high and low can also represent or can also mean, the positivities and negativities of life, you see. So ultimately you will find that Feste is a man who is always relating himself with the encashment of art, you see. As I already mentioned, that he has to sell his art for art to earn his livelihood. So therefore, that can sing both high and low. So it may also signify that he can construct his song on the basis of the joyance and obviously the joyousness and the sad and sordidness being present in him. So in each and every time, he can convert his art in terms of his present scenario. Then it sings that can sing both high and low. And then it sings, treat no farther pretty sweeting. Journeys end in lovers meeting. So ultimately, every wise man's son doth know. So journeys end in lovers meeting. Do you not find that this particular tale is also referring to the concept of the considerations of Lady Olivia? Lady Olivia, as after the death of her brother, the favorite brother, she considered herself to be in a self-imposed exile. So that's why the journeys end in lovers meeting. So that is the fundamental focus of life, obviously. Okay, so fundamentally you will find that in this particular song, Shakespeare is trying to give impetus to, what should I say, it should be a kind of, you see, carpe diem format, obviously. You know what is carpe diem? There are two particular terms. One is called the carpe diem and the second one is called the carpe florem. That is, the time is fleeting from your hands, you see. So we must seize the day. That means each and every moment you have to think about your present, you see. Because the present scenario, the present condition, the present, the temperament, obviously, the time is going on, you see. So fundamentally you have to know about your present, you have to feel your present, you have to grab your present because it is fleeting. It is flying from your hands. Seize the day. So that was the theme of Carpe Diem. So you have to live by enjoying each and every moment, you see. The particular lines of by Tennyson in Ulysses, I will drink life to the lees. Okay, where lees is referring to the lowest part of your drink. So that particular expression can also be related with the formations of Carpe Diem, obviously. And here in this particular song or maybe the poem. So treat not farther pretty sweeting. So to some extent it is asking justifications. Why are you committing the trips? Because the journeys end in lovers meeting. Because ultimately the ultimatum of our life is the lovers meeting. And every wise man's son that knows. So it is the form of wisdom that everybody should think about. Then he says, the same kind of temperament, as I mentioned, that is the carpe diem orientation of Shakespeare. And Shakespeare also mentions this carpe diem, or using this carpe diem thoughts, you see, carpe diem related thoughts in his sonnets. There are ample provisions of Shakespearean sonnets where you can find that there are ample references of this carpe diem motif, you see, that you will find in this particular text. There is once there is Viola, who is also stating about the fleeting moments of time, you see. She says actually, because she is under the attire of Cesario. Viola says that women beauty are as roses. It decreases even at the moment when it reaches its extreme. That is the short-timed nature of beauty, ultimately. The clown continues, what is love? So that is the fundamental question that the text is actually asking or inquiring. What is love? Then says, it is not hereafter. So love, the concept of love, you cannot completely negate your physicality. You cannot completely negate your physical existence and the body, the importance of the body, considering the love itself. He says, therefore, what is love? So it's a question, obviously. It is not hereafter. So you cannot think that after the end of your body, after the existence, you will find love to be present in you. Why? Because it actually perishes. It actually vanishes with the extinction of your body, somehow. So what is love? It is not hereafter. Present mirth hath present laughter. So that is the fundamental thing that I'm trying to suggest here. Obviously, this is the thing, that present laugh or present mirth hath present laughter. So present, that is very important. Don't always try to secure your future, that Shakespeare is trying to propagate through this particular song. It is a kind of a philosophy that is being propounded by Feste here. That don't try to thrive for your future, because that future is completely unknown. The time is fleeting. The time is flying from your hands. Seize the day. Each and every moment you have to enjoy the moments. You see? It is not hereafter. Present mirth hath present laughter, because it is completely uncertain. You are thinking about your future. You are thinking about your, to some extent, how to engage my future or how to plan my future. But if the life itself is completely uncertain, then how can you plan your future? That is the thing that Shakespeare is in want. So he says, therefore, that present mirth hath present laughter. What is to come is still unsure, right? So that is the thing, that future is completely decorated with uncertainties. The future itself is uncertain. And what is to come is still unsure, still unsure. So ultimately, you see that somehow it is the typical form of, the philosophies regarding your life that actually the song represents. What I have mentioned at the beginning of this particular lecture, that the festive songs are not simply the songs. Rather, it discusses something about your life. The songs are actually propagating some ideologies that Shakespeare was within, or Shakespeare kept within. And ultimately, the feste is the mouthpiece of Shakespeare, right? So the songs are very important in so far as the psychology, so far as the philosophy of life is concerned. He says, therefore, present mirth hath present laughter. What is to come is still unsure. So in delay, there lies no plenty. Okay, so why are you delaying? Why are you delaying our relations? So in delay, there lies no plenty. And then come kiss me, sweet and 20. Why? Because youth is a staff, will not endure. Love is not time's full, Shakespeare says in his sonnet. Love is not time's full. There is a different kind of orientation to love, obviously. He is actually advocating spiritual love there. He says, love is not time's full. Love is not time's full. Though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. That means time itself, It actually cuts and gathers beauty from the beauty of beautiful women. So Shakespeare is always thinking, he was very much thoughtful regarding the transience of beauty, because beauty is short-lived and so is life. So ultimately, if you think about your youth, youth is fleeting from you each and every moment. So ultimately, you can identify that what is the fundamental focus of this particular song. The focus is you have to think about present. The focus is on the fleeting details of life. The focus is on the uncertainty of your future. The focus is on the physical approximations, obviously. So it is the first song that was performed by Feste here in 12th Night, and ultimately we'll find that somehow it is actually referring and commenting on Feste's philosophy of life, and somehow it's a kind of a preaching that Feste is making. In front of the characters who are present, there is Maria, there is Fabian, there is Sir Toby and Andrew, okay, and at the same time you will find that it was a song made to be performed during the festive situation, you see, because there are ample provisions of characters who are present along with him. So you can find that the song is actually, to some extent, it is spreading this particular philosophy among the people. So Shakespeare wanted them to do this, right? So it was the first song that was performed by Feste. The second song, it is completely different from its orientation, and I will come to this song. It was in Act 2, Scene 4, line number 51 onwards, you see. So here you can find that somehow it's a different orientation, obviously. The second song is sung by clown in front of Duke Orsino, okay? Whereas the first song was performed in front of the lower, or say comparatively lower graded characters. Here you will find that Duke Orsino is in front. Somehow you will find that, as I mentioned earlier, that the clown has to think about the situation. The clown is a very intelligent character. Feste is a very intelligent character, and he catches the basic temperament of the person who is in front. And what was the mental condition of Duke Orsino? Duke Orsino was in love, okay? Though, what kind of love? It's a great matter, obviously, because he loves the concept of love more than the person, okay? But ultimately, he was self-conceited, you see? That he considers that his love is the greatest one, if possible. So Duke Orsino is in love with Olivia, and it was a kind of a frustrating kind of an emotion that he is bearing at this moment, because the love cannot be, it is not being reciprocated by Lady Olivia. So in such a situation, you will find that clown is singing his melancholic song, you see. It's the temperament, obviously melancholic. The clown sings, come away, death, and in sad cypress, let me be laid. Fly away, breathe. I am slain by a fair, cruel maid. So it is a kind of a bringing of death itself, you see. Says, come away, death. And in sad cypress, let me be laid. So it's metaphorical, obviously, and obviously it is rhetorical. The rhetorical device they are using. Sad cypress, you see. Sad cypress. So the cypress is actually referring to a coffin of cypress wood, or made of cypress wood. So this is actually referring to the concept of death, where the dead body will be under the coffin or within the coffin. So come away, death, and in sad cypress let me be laid. Fly away, breathe. So in another section you see that this particular term fly away, it was mentioned at fly away. Okay, so fly away, breathe. I am slain by a fair, cruel maid. And who is this fair, cruel maid? So far as Duke Orsino is concerned, you can identify that this fair, cruel maid is obviously, it is referring to Lady Olivia, obviously. So fly away, I have slain by a fair, cruel maid. My shroud of white stuck all with you, oh prepare it. So it will be my white coffin, and the yew trees will be there, the reference of the yew trees. And yew is famous for its flowers, the white flowers. It will be covered. The bier has been mentioned here. My shroud of white, the shroud will be white. You see that the cloth that have been placed just over the the dead body, or on the dead body. So my shroud of white stuck all with you, oh prepare it. My part of death, no one so true did share it. So it is a kind of an emotion. It is a kind of a feeling, because the death cannot be shared by anybody else. So somehow this particular reference is being associated with the basic temperament of Duke Orsino that he is feeling at this moment. My part of death, no one so true did share it. Not a flower sweet on my black coffin let there be strewn. Not a friend greet my poor corpse where my bones shall be thrown. So it's a kind of a typical melancholic and, the lonely temperament is being reciprocated here, because the Duke Orsino's words, to some extent, what is being spoken by the clown in the form of the song. And the clown says, not a flower sweet on my black coffin let there be strewn. So where I will lay under the grave, you see. On my coffin, not a single flower will be strewn or thrown on it. Why? Because I want to remain lonely. I want to remain in that sad and sordidness, the particular form of loneliness that I am feeling at this moment. And if I am going to die, okay, then certainly after my death, that particular thing, this particular temperament must not to be changed or altered. So therefore, I want to be alone or remain alone there. Okay? So therefore, it says, not a flower sweet on my black coffin let there be strewn. Not a friend greet my poor corpse where my bones shall be thrown. So I don't want to be watched by any visitor, okay, or visited by any visitor. I don't want that. Why? Because I want to pass the remaining days of my existence, though as a corpse, but I don't want any visitor there. I want to be there in perfect loneliness. So not a flower sweet on my black coffin let there be strewn. Not a friend greet my poor corpse where my bones shall be thrown. A thousand sighs to save. Lay me where sad true lover never find my grave to weep there. So I don't want to be affected, or I don't want to, affect any other person, any other lover, because I want to save the sighs, the deep sighs or mournful sighs of those lovers who are actually facing the same kind of temperament, who are actually facing the same kind of, destiny that I am facing at this moment. So that's why try to keep my, grave completely unknown. Okay? So that is the temperament of this particular song, and you will find somehow it's over romantic. Okay, if I coin the term, over romanticism is obviously. So that is the fundamental thing that I'm trying to suggest here. The melancholic temperament of this particular song, it is actually catching the temperament, the actual temperament where Duke Orsino was in, and somehow this particular song was reciprocating Duke Orsino's temperament, because Duke Orsino was also suffering from the same crisis. He was also suffering from, yes, I have to think about my death. I have to think about the persons who are facing the similar kind of condition. So to save themselves from any kind of problem, to save themselves from any kind of the sorrow, I have to be in a particular place which is completely remain unknown to others. That was the temperament of Duke Orsino. Why? Because Duke Orsino, you see, that to some extent it is melodramatic, obviously. You can find the typical form of melodrama is present within the character of Duke Orsino. Within the temperaments of Duke Orsino considers himself to be superior in everything, you see. In the social status, in his positions, in his authority, and also so far as the love is concerned, so far as the temperament of love is concerned, he is considering himself at the superior position, or the most superior position to be specific. Why? Because Duke Orsino considers himself to be, the great lover, or maybe the greatest of lovers ever possible. Why? The temperament of his love, you see. It is the most powerful Okay, because you will find that in a particular conversation between Duke Orsino and Viola, where Duke Orsino considers as, no, it is not possible for any other person to love in the same intensity of passion that I am feeling at this moment, because I am carrying the greatest of emotions, you see, right? So Duke Orsino considers himself in this particular form, that he is the greatest of lovers ever possible. He had the greatest of emotions ever possible. So somehow the particular temperament that Duke Orsino shares, Clown or Feste, he knows everything. Feste is the most intelligent character, as I've mentioned earlier, and we will find that Duke Orsino's temperament is got reciprocated in the form of the song. Okay, so he considers that it is the weaver's song. So the weaver's songs, the reference to the weaver's songs are always being present. Because before this particular song that was sung by Feste, there was a particular reference of the weaver's song. As if, you will find that Clown was engaged in such kind of singing in the previous night, where the weaver's song actually influenced Duke Orsino better. Duke Orsino said there, "Oh fellow, come, the song we had last night. Mark it, Cesario. It is old and plain." There is the presence of Cesario is also. So, mark it, Cesario is old and plain. The spinsters and the knitters in the sun, and free maids that weave their trade with bones to use to chant it. It is silly sooth, and tallies with the innocence of love, like the old age. So that is the song, melancholic song, the weaver's song. So you will find somehow that it is not that Shakespeare is referring to the songs that are sung by the Clown, as he is preparing the songs, or rather there is ample references where you can find that the songs are actually known to the others or known to other people. I don't know whether these are actually existing at the time. It can be possible, but ultimately you will find that Shakespeare is referring to the songs as they are belonging to any particular caste, they are belonging to any particular society or any particular class of the society. So what does he try to suggest here? Why these kinds of references have been taken? Is it referring to that these songs are, completely being loaded with the ideologies, or maybe the thought processes of the people in general? So probably that, and probably he's constantly referring to his readers that this particular man, that is Clown or Feste, he's not from this particular society, you see, because he's coming from the other sections. And probably that was the actual life that was lurking outside, the arena, or outside the worlds of these quote-unquote hypocrite households or so, or hypocrisy, where hypocrisy is at the foremost position, obviously. So it was another kind of a song, and obviously we'll find that is the melancholic song, and obviously it is related with any particular kind of a love theme, and somehow you will find that there is Duke Orsino and there is Cesario, and Cesario is in love, that is Viola is in love with Duke Orsino. So ultimately you will find that this particular song had a deep influence in Cesario also. Again, I will refer to the Trevor Nunn's production of Twelfth Night, and you will find that after, when this particular song was performed, there is a reference. I'm not saying that this is being meant by Shakespeare here, but it was the Trevor Nunn's reading of the text, or reading of the text, that gets filmed in the form of the production. There was a particular reference of the close proximity or closeness within the two characters there. It's the physical references that have been taken, and it was between Duke Orsino and Viola, that is Cesario, and it was watched by the Clown. And as I mentioned, that there was a particular reference where it has been taken that Clown knows everything of the identity of Cesario. Okay, though I have to say here that Shakespeare didn't mention it properly, but it was a reading, you see. It's a kind of an adaptation, right? So somehow there are the reading of Trevor Nunn's production, or reading of Trevor Nunn that gets reflected in his production. You will find that somehow these are referring to the oblique references, okay, which are taken to be full, and then it gets reflected in the form of the films. The third song I will take here it is a particular song that was sung at the end of the text. Okay, so it is Act 5, Scene 1 and line number 388. It was the last song. So what happens there? If you go through the text, you will find that everything got resoluted. You will find that there is Sebastian, the twin brother of Viola, okay, and you will find that everything had got disclosed. Viola's feminine enterprises have been already being in forefront. So therefore, you will find that Sebastian got married to Lady Olivia. Okay, there was a reference to that, and ultimately it has been placed that Viola is in love with Duke Orsino, and Duke Orsino doesn't feel any problem in accepting Viola. Why? Okay, so after that we will find that the gate actually being closed, where the two couples have already entered the household and the gate have been closed, and on the single stage there is the clown who is actually present there. There is no other person being present along with the clown on stage here. So that's why you will find that the clown at the end finds himself at a position where people does not in want, or the people do not in they do not in want of accepting the clown in each and every spheres of the society. We have already traced that the clown is referring to, a clown is being associated with the lower strata of society, and somehow these kinds of characters you see as the represented by the clown, they are not being accepted by the society in each and every maxims. Okay, so the clown says, I will go with this particular reference. The clown says, when that I was a little tiny boy, with hey ho, wind and the rain. You will find it's a song, so ultimately there are ample provisions of the refrains. What is refrain? The similar kind of words or similar kind of lines and wordings have been repeatedly being used throughout the song, the particular part of the song that got repeated in the particular song. So the wind and the rain is actually referring to the passing of the time. Say it is actually referring to the life itself. Okay. So here it says that when that I was a little tiny boy, with hey ho, the wind and the rain, the time passes, you see. A foolish thing was but a toy. For the rain, it raineth every day. This is another particular line that is being used as a refrain. The rain, it raineth every day. What kind of rain? It's metaphorical formations of the rain is being reciprocated here, because you will find that the rain is actually referring to the fleeting moments, obviously, and at the same time it can find different kinds of emotions being incorporations here. So that's why he says that when that I was a little tiny boy, with hey ho, the wind and the rain, a foolish thing was but a toy. That means when I was a little tiny boy, when I was completely ignorant of the society. Okay, I didn't have the foreknowledge about the societal affairs, societal conditions, and so a foolish thing was but a toy. For the rain, it raineth every day. But when I came to man's estate, so he's gradually becoming older, and he says that when I came to man's estate, so from a little tiny boy, now he has gone matured. With hey ho, wind and the rain, that is the time. Against knaves, so that is the very important section, you see, that is actually referring to the class differentiation. Actually, it is referring to the conditions of the characters like Fester, clown. You will find that against knaves, this particular term is being repeatedly used throughout the text, where the knaves are actually referring to the fools. And fools are being fools have been the term fool is being used to refer to Feste, obviously. So against knaves and thieves, you'll see that the term, the end, you see, it is actually linking the two terms or two particular nouns, knaves and thieves, as if they are of similar qualities. So actually you will find that referring to the particular words, Shakespeare is trying to mean that these have to be treated by the society, or these are treated by the society as outcast. Okay, so but when I came to man's estate, with hey ho, wind and rain, against knaves and thieves, men shut their gate. That is the thing. Actually, it is happening that at the end of the text we can find that the clown has been completely made out as if he is an alien. as if he has completely been alienated from the basic structure of the society they were in, because all those four characters, they belonging to the upper strata of society, whereas the clown is completely a mismatch. So therefore the gates have been shut in the face of him, right? So that's why it says, against knaves and against thieves, as I mentioned, they have been treated as outcast. Against knaves and thieves men shut their gate, for the rain it raineth every day. But when I came, alas, to wife, with hey-ho, wind and the rain, by swaggering could I never thrive, for it raineth every day. So the swagger, the harangues, the particular kind of wordings, the high-flown words. By swaggering could I never thrive. That means I cannot use my high-flown words only, because it cannot feed you. You see, you need some money. You have to earn your livelihood. So by swaggering could I never thrive. But when I came into my beds with hey-ho, the wind and the rain, with tosspots still had drunken heads, for the rain it raineth every day. So the tosspots and drunken heads, these times of, you see, the words, these are actually referring to the patterns of meaningless existence, the patterns of meaningless, behaviors that cannot feed you ultimately. And then it says, a great while ago the world began. What kind of world is being referred to here? The world is actually being referred as the world that is created by Shakespeare here in referring to Twelfth Night. It is the particular kind of a world, you see. So somehow you will find that the typical form of theatricality, the typical form of, the representations of the society that has been made in terms of the performance on the stage. A great while ago the world began with hey-ho, the wind and the rain. But that is all at one. Our play is done. So everything is one, you see. That everything is quite similar to the other plays. Each play is referring to the other plays. Each pattern is referring to the other patterns. That is all one. And our play is done. So the world have been created. The worlds have been created. The world began a great while ago. And now it is done. That's all one. The play is done, and we will strive to please you every day. Here, you is actually referring to the spectators on stage. Spectators who are present there, the groundlings, and also the other kinds of spectators who are present in an auditorium, a theater. So somehow that is the to some extent it is just like an epilogue, you see. Because you will find that in the earliest forms of plays, earliest forms of dramas, in Greek and Roman society and Greco-Roman structure, we found that the epilogue actually makes a kind of an end to or completion to the plays that were being performed. And here Feste is playing that. But along with the particular kind of a conclusion or the concluding lines or maybe the valedictory speeches that have been performed by Feste, you will find that somehow this particular song is actually referring to the condition of the characters like Feste, and Shakespeare is also referring to the implications of such kind of song as they are carrying some extra emphasis on the patterns of life leading that these types of characters they were in. So that's why the songs are the songs that are sung. I have taken the 3 songs and I have explained them in detail. So what I'm trying to suggest here that especially if we think of the particular song or the fundamental basics of the music that have been related to Twelfth Night, you will find at the foremost that these kinds of songs are actually important to create the festive effect in this particular play, because these are needed, you see. Why? Because it is a festive comedy. It was made for the festival, with which I have begun my lecture by referring to what. So what I'm trying to suggest here, that the songs that have been performed by Feste, these are not to be considered simply important so far as the festivity is concerned. Rather, you will find that each and every song that were performed by Feste, these are actually focusing on the societal, ups and downs, the societal conditions, the class differentiations where Feste was in, and different kinds of orientations to love and ideology and philosophy and something more. So fundamentally, the songs are very important so far as the play is concerned, because the play is not to be made only for festival to be performed with mirth and jollity. Rather, the plays are actually focusing on Shakespearean outlook, you see. Okay, Shakespearean ideology, Shakespearean philosophy. So we cannot negate that particular impact from this particular play, right? So when you will think of the importance of music and the importance of songs in Twelfth Night, don't ever try to refer the songs and music only to refer mirth and jollity. Rather, you will find that the words are loaded with different kinds of philosophies, different kinds of orientations to life, different kinds of thought processes that are very important so far as Shakespearean canons of texts are concerned. And it is also referring to or focusing on the different aspects where Feste was in, and it actually carries the Feste's situation. It actually focuses on Feste's situations and Feste's temperament and Feste's the possibilities, different kinds of possibilities of earning money. Okay, so go through the text carefully, try to identify different other references of music, how music is dealing in Twelfth Night, how so far these are important, how the songs of Feste are important, and how these are reciprocating, or these are commenting on the situations, commenting on the life he was leading, and different kinds of other activities or different kinds of other orientations that Shakespeare was trying to propagate through the character of Feste and the songs in Twelfth Night. So today up to this. Thank you.